All right. So, hello. My name is Lowell Francis, pronouns he, him, and I am the GM for our session of Hearts of Wulin. This is our sixth session. This is our finale session. This is where plots are coming together. This is a game that is built up. We're going to see romance. We're going to see heartbreak. It's going to be painful and awful and wondrous, all in equal measure. Before we get to that, I do want to have our players introduce themselves and who their characters are. I do want to mention that I'm the community manager for the Gauntlet, which is an online gaming community. That's sort of why I'm here. Also, a designer of this game. We'll also, I haven't heard it yet, but it might be something that might happen. We have the X card on the table as our safety tool. You can say X card or gesture to say, this is material I find objectionable, things I want to cut away from, anything like that. Again, no questions asked. We just move past it. If you think something is problematic or wildly off tone, you can use that. That's just to keep that in mind. Anybody at home watching, if we do that, that's what we realize what that is. I'm going to work my way across the character sheet. We have a character keeper. So I am going to start with Kat. Kat, would you please introduce yourself and your character?
I'm Kat Rambo. I'm a writer and editor. This is my cat, Taco. For some reason, she's decided to be sociable. I will be running Young Turtle. Young Turtle is a master of disguise and quite the trickster. She has very confusing relationship with her brother, who thinks she was trying to kill him, and hasn't disabused him of that notion, and an equally dysfunctional relationship with her grandmother, who we will see is in a very antagonistic situation as we begin.
Excellent. And then Mike.
Hey everybody, I'm Mike Underwood. I write as Michael R. Underwood. I'm an author, podcaster, and publishing professional. With our glorious host here, I co-host Speculate, which is an actual play podcast, much like this, but in podcast form with different science fiction and fantasy people. And we have a Star Wars game that we did on this stream and then on the podcast just about a month ago. So you can catch that in the podcast feed or in the YouTube at youtube.com/ArvinAleron. I have a announcement coming very soon, but it hasn't happened yet, so I can't actually tell you about it. But if you look at my Twitter feed at Mike R. Underwood, you may get a little bit of a hint. I'm playing Tian Yu, Heaven's Justice. Both my and his pronouns are he, him.
Excellent. Thank you. And then Saad.
Hello. Sod _ on Twitch. I am the video producer, so all the video stuff that you see, it's all done by me, of course, but a lot of the artwork was done by various people in the community, Halves community. You probably saw me here earlier doing Emberwind and then Infinity and Beyond D&D. Yeah, I mean, like, what else to say? My character is Bai Xiaofeng, who is a medical doctor and who has just had absolutely everything torn from him twice now. Like, one for the backstory and then now for the current drama that's going on, and he's trying to recover some kind of semblance of what the hell to do.
Excellent. And then Joyce rejoining us. So let's hear about Joyce.
Hi, I'm Joyce. I'm playing a Crystal Flower, a loyal swordsman. I go by she and they. I'm a writer and I'm from Singapore.
Excellent. So today's session, we're going to be playing along. We're going to take a break at the midpoint. And I will keep an eye on the time. When we get into the last 30 minutes, if we haven't gotten to the scene that kind of wraps it, you may see me do what's called hard framing, which is where I kind of push to move certain pieces into position, move certain scenes together, just so we can get to a conclusion. Usually that happens naturally, but just recognize that in the last 30 minutes, it may start pushing things harder to get towards that. And everyone at the end, after the last scene, will have a chance to narrate an epilogue about what happens to their character after the story is ended. So you will have a chance to get the final word on what occurs. So now, with that in mind, I'm going to try to recap what has gone on here. I'm going to start with the line of things that have occurred to Crystal Flower and that household, because we went through a sort of a set of stories with that, and that kind of got put off a little bit to the side, and we went with a different set of stories, but things have happened there. So I'm going to start with Crystal Flower's side. So Bai Xiaofeng was called back to treat the woman who leads Crystal Flower's faction, which is the Gallant Saber Guardians, and that was Lian Hua. There was a lot of push and pull back and forth on that. Lian Hua's husband, Zemin, who is also an object of affection for Crystal Flower, resented Bai Xiaofeng's arrival. And then Ling Hua, the younger sister of Lian Hua, also was romantically attached to Bai Xiaofeng. There's something going on there. The clan leader, Lian Hua, is in a coma. This is a thing that's been going on for a while. And now the other two factions, the Iron Delegates and the Ivory Cliff Dragons, have been pushing for a new leader to be chosen. This has created a whole host of complications. This ended up in a revelation that, in fact, both Ling Hua and Zemin, for different reasons, had been poisoning Lian Hua. Zemin, so that he could be with Crystal Flower, and Ling Hua, so that she could be with Bai Xiaofeng. And this did not go well for anyone. And in the end, Crystal Flower stabbed Bai Xiaofeng in the chest and nearly killed him. But he managed to pull through. But Ling Hua took off after having had an encounter with Young Turtle. And Zemin essentially has turned himself over to the authorities of the household and is currently being held. So far, Lian Hua has not yet recovered, but there is chaos in that house, and it's uncertain. And leadership of the three factions has gone over to the Iron Delegates. Crystal Flower remained to try and put some things to right, while the others went to investigate. And so that is what Crystal Flower has been doing in the meantime. And we'll come back to exactly what that means, and we'll start with a scene with you, Crystal Flower. But on the other hand, our other three, Young Turtle and Bai Xiaofeng and Tian Yu, have been trying to figure out what's been going on, and trying to find out what is the reason for this, why the poisoning, why the maneuvering's been going on. And through the investigation of an underground set of tunnels and through other pieces they've put together, they found that it looks like the Iron Delegates, who are under the sort of command of Silver Crane, our evil magistrate, have been working to obtain a legendary weapon known as the Peacock Saber. And that is essentially what this seems to all have been surrounding. This has become more complicated because our Tian Yu's mentor and Young Turtle's brother, the magistrate there, has also been trying to find out what's going on, and he has apparently been captured. And so we don't know where they are right this second. And so in the midst of all this investigation, also, Ling Hua attempted to murder Young Turtle, and was unsuccessful. And it was at that point that Bai Xiaofeng rather than comforting his fiancee, young turtle, took off after Ling Hua. And Ling Hua, he then said, "Hey, babe, it's not you, it's me." And it was a very bad scene, and she swore dark eternal revenge, threw down her blade onto the ground, walked away from it, but said that Bai Xiaofeng his suffering would be legendary. And Bai Xiaofeng, having made this break, returned back and did not gain any favor from young turtle as a result of this. But the group had realized that young turtle's grandmother, the blacksmith, had been tied to the creation of this peacock saber. And so they traveled a day's travel away to the household of young turtle, where she had left years ago. And they spoke, and the grandmother revealed that peacock saber is a weapon that she and two others had created, a weapon that combined the three different styles, but the weapon itself was legendary and miraculous, and it was also a corrupting weapon, and that in fact it had corrupted young turtle's mother, who had been the bearer of the blade. And after a conflict, the blade had been taken and had been hidden away, and a key in 3 parts had been used to seal it up. And it's pretty clear from what the group has picked up that key has been taken by Silver Crane. The grandmother of young turtle has warned her off from pursuing this, that this will only bring darkness and despair. Does that seem like a pretty good summary of where we're at?
Yep. And there was a weapon that was going to be given to young turtle by her grandmother. Yeah, is that right? Yeah.
Something of that. She said she would help.
Some kind of something. We don't know what. But
right. We will come to that in a moment. The crystal flower, it has been chaos amongst the gallant saber guardians. Your elder Liang Hua, who did this attack, she has vanished. Lian Hua's husband is imprisoned. The senior students are unsure what to do. They're trying to keep things together, and they've had to hand off leadership to the Iron Delegates. Silver Crane has taken over effectively in this time, and Zemin's brother, who we met briefly, the sort of a smith person, he has been storming about, trying to find something to do, but just full of anger and rage. And I will assume that the group has sent you a note to say that they have headed to visit young turtle's grandmother to find out more about what has gone on. But when we finally come back to you, where do we see you? Where does the camera finally find you? Are you in the midst of work, of chaos, or is this a chance that you've gotten to catch your breath?
I see Crystal Flower standing at very it's like the courtyard of the clans holding, and they are looking at a lotus pond, trying to catch like a moment of peace, and staring at the opened like lotus flowers, just looking very pensive and sad at the same time. So this is where you find Crystal Flower looking pensive, sad, and staring at the lotus flowers where they know that they'll find some moment of serenity.
Have you, or rather, let me ask you this, because why haven't you yet gone to see Zemin in the couple of days had this passed?
Crystal Flower, I mean, I am feeling very hurt at the moment. Betrayed, hurt, and let's just say that Crystal Flower's heart is torn in various directions, and they are tied, they are just literally torn between duty and self. Like, they have the clan, and they have, oh my god, the person whom I love is actually a censored word. Yeah.
You will hear the sort of the shift of feet that tells you that someone is standing a ways back, doesn't want to interrupt your meditations, but is there and is waiting to speak with you.
I kind of turn slowly towards the source of the sound of feet and say, yes.
And you will see Silver Crane, leader of the Iron Delegates, is there.
Okay.
And he says, Crystal Flower, I apologize that I must interrupt your meditations, but I would have a few words with you.
Continue. Go on.
With your elder Zemin indisposed as he is, and Ling Hua absent, and Lin Hua still indisposed, I would ask, who leads the Gallant Saber Guardians? Is that you?
So Crystal Flower kind of like she looks back at they look back at the lotus flowers. She inhales and said, yes, it's me. I'll take over. And she looks really like, I can't say, like she's calm finally, and she knows that they had to step up somehow. And say, yes, I am currently the leader.
Excellent. Then the factions expect that you will deal the proper justice to Zemin.
Yes. Perhaps we'll all of us meet at the hall and bring Zemin for judgment.
Oh no. Zemin is a member of your house. We leave his punishment in your hands.
So be it. I will deal with him privately.
He flicks his fan and he bows and he turns to leave. What is Crystal Flower thinking? What has to be done?
Yes. Well, Crystal Flower is going. Inside is like, oh my god, what am I going to do? But they're trying to keep a calm facade. And
so, would you say that your emotions are conflicting inside?
Yes.
Well, we have a move for that.
Yes.
So you need to roll inner conflict.
Inner conflict.
What element do you think you want to roll this with? Which element is keeping you together?
Sorry.
Right.
Interlude. Commercial break. That's my daughter, my eldest.
Okay.
Sorry. Later. I will try to kind of metal.
That seems control. Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's have you roll.
6.
A 6. So I think that you will hear one of the even as you go ahead and mark metal, so put a check by that box, and you will see another one of the students come running towards you and says, Crystal Flower, Zamin is missing.
What? How?
I know he was held, but we think that Ling Hua came and freed him.
Then we will go and look for them and bring them to justice. Our clan has to stand strong, and these two has to come back and face our wrath and judgment.
And they nod, and you know in your heart that these two will be going to kill Bai Xiaofeng.
Yes. And we will go and we have to go after them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We will come back to you in a moment. So yeah, your grandmother comes at you with this blade, leaps over the table, has this blade that looks like sort of like there are feathers on it, and comes shooting at you, young turtle, and is you've never seen her move this fast. And what do you do?
I think that you see young turtle's eyes widen, and for one of the first times you see her at a total loss and looking absolutely frozen, and then at the very last moment lean back just enough to avoid the tip of the sword passing in front of her face. And go ahead.
Let's have you roll overcome.
Let's make the element. I think metal is the one that we will go.
Then let's have you roll.
A 2 + 1 is 3, and a 2.
So your total is?
The +1 is to both dice, right?
Just a 1.
Just a 1. So it is a 5 altogether.
So you dodge that blade, but then it's when those feathers, those metal feathers on the blade shoot out completely unexpected, and they will strike you in several places. And I need you to mark your element.
Okay.
And you fall back, and your grandmother says, "Too slow," and moves over. And Tian, Bai Xiaofeng, you see this. You've kind of gotten up, kind of moved out as you've heard some noise, and you see young turtle's grandmother. These metal feathers sticking out of young turtle. Young turtle has fallen to the ground. What do you do? Bai Xiaofeng.
I just run to young turtle and try and pull her back and see if I can help her.
You want to try and interpose yourself between her and her grandmother?
Yep.
Okay. I think that's going to be overcome.
All right. I'm going to use water for this.
Okay.
4 and a 4, so 8 + 2, 10.
10. So yeah, you will get in the way and turn that blow aside. And what do you do, Tian?
I think I'll kind of step in to give young turtle and Bai Xiaofeng a bit more space, and like step in kind of and bow deep to young turtle's grandmother and say, with greatest respect, she won't be fighting alone. She'll have us with her. We're stronger together.
Let's have you roll hearts and minds.
Okay. Cool. So I'm going to roll this with... yeah, let's go for broke. I'm going to use water
Okay.
This is awareness, wisdom, flexibility. It's also my style element, so if I screw up, then I've done a bad job, but this is finale time, so let's go.
Go on.
So that's a 4 and a 4 plus 2 is a 10.
So she stops and she steps back and she looks at Bai Xiaofeng kind of standing between her and her granddaughter. And she will say, "What do you say, young turtle?"
Again, I'm somewhat speechless, and you can tell that this is a moment that has great impact for her. And you see her kind of look around at her friends, and then she sort of gives a little nod to herself and says, "We are indeed greater together. I have friends where before I stood alone."
And you think that will be enough?
I know that will be enough.
Then you have had a taste of what the peacock saber is like. I hope that you and your compatriots can find a solution from what you have seen here.
I looked around at my friends with kind of, and again, you see this, she looks at them, and then there's this sort of nod to herself, and you can tell, I don't know, it seems as though young turtle is moving forward in psychologically. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Go ahead.
And her grandmother kind of sets down this blade, a few feathers still remaining on it, lays it down and turns and hobbles her way back over towards the forge.
I will pluck several of the iron feathers out of my extremities.
I'll help, pull them out and treat if needed. To
Absolutely.
I take a couple and sneak them away because
Oh, yeah,
I can bring them back.
are you okay?
Yes, I'm better than I was, although things are still very complicated, and I give Bao Xiaofeng a kind of odd look, because I'm still, things are a bit up in the air with him, I think.
When I first came here, she seemed nice, but if you're wondering how she persuaded me to say yes to marrying you, what she did just then was what she did to me, and I didn't touch it very well either.
Well, and you see young turtle kind of take all of this in stride and nod to herself and just say, "Well, as far as I'm concerned, all of those ties are broken. You don't need to worry about them. Her actions have shown she has no control over my destiny anymore."
I agree. I believe everyone has control over their own destiny.
And as you gather together to head back, Tian, what is in your mind?
I think Tian overhears this conversation, at a polite remove, but he's learned to hear things at a distance in his legendary thief ways, and he's reflecting on what Bai said about everyone getting to choose their own destiny. And there's in the TV show, would probably be a quick him specific recap of the flows of different people and seeing his mother and young Snake and kind of reflecting on all of these things, and Tien kind of thinking to himself how much control do I really have? Maybe in a voiceover, I feel like I'm just one thread in a rope, and what can one thread do to strengthen or pull out a knot? It's something, but not everything. And kind of the scene kind of leaves him on that note.
And the three of you will head back. You still have several things left undone. Where is your brother, young turtle? That remains uncertain. What has Silver Crane done? There are many questions as the three of you head back. Let me come back to our illustrious Crystal Flower. When you go to pursue these two evildoers, do you go by yourself? Do you take members of your clan with you? How would you pursue these two?
We will take trusted members of the clan, the best able swords people, and we will pursue them on horseback. Okay.
So, young turtle, as you are making your way back, that some time has passed, you and Tian and Bai Xiaofeng are moving along, and you will hear the sound of horses, unusual, like horses galloping down the road towards your location.
Could that be the Iron Delegates?
I think whatever it is, we should get out of the way. And so I'll kind of urge us to step aside and kind of perhaps fade into the bushes until we see who it is that's coming up behind us.
Follow her in.
Yeah, and Tian Yu is kind of up 10 feet on a tree almost before anyone notices.
Master Thief skills.
And the three of you will move off to the side of the road, and you will see a group of the Gallant Saber Guardians, a handful of their bravest blade bearers, as well as at the front of them, Crystal Flower, and they are clearly riding along this way, maybe in pursuit of you. So, Tian, let's start with you. Let's ask you what you do, because you certainly have the least interest in being captured by the authorities in some ways.
Yeah, I think because it's Crystal Flower and we've missed a couple of beats with them, he would kind of look to his fellows, expecting them to be kind of eager to see the Gallant Saber Guardians and hold a hand up to whistle a greeting to them.
Young Turtle, are you excited to see the Gallant Saber Guardians?
I'm glad to see Crystal Flower. I'm a bit less excited about the Gallant Saber Guardians. We've had some some comings and goings with them, but I will.
You will kind of present yourself, step forward.
Yes,
Okay.
I will.
And what about you, Bai Xiaofeng? When the woman who stabbed you to death appears on horseback,
I think that would be interesting if, like, her sword kind of has this weird resonates, and she feels that blade maybe just slightly start to vibrate a bit, and I start to feel
and
very
I imagine
cold.
You feel a chill.
Yeah, like this sudden chill,
chest.
and my whole body is just
Cold.
Yes. Do you present yourself as well?
Yeah, if young turtle is, then I will.
Okay. Crystal Flower, you will see Bai Xiaofeng, the doctor, and young turtle, who not sure what to make of that one. Who is there, and they come out of the grass and bushes at the side and present themselves, not in ambush kind of way, but to say, hey, hail and greet you there.
So the kind of everyone in all the horse people just go like pull up their horses, and my rears up and just like start pawing. It's a stallion, so it's like that is like, so we kind of circle them, the horses, and we just kind of circle them going, so yes, we meet again. What do you want?
Are you here to kill us?
No. We're off in pursuit of Zimin and my sister Linghua. They have betrayed the clan, and we are going to bring them to justice. Will you all join us in this fight?
Do you know where they went, by any chance? Are you following the trail right now?
I have a gut feeling that they're off to kill you. And we should protect you. And I'm saying this is with the most conflicted heart. So, will you join us? We will offer protection. Is I speaking as with authority as the clan leader.
And I'll look towards young turtle. Autumn, what do you think?
I think that they're greater strength in numbers, actually. So I think we should join them. I think this is a good opportunity. I think. And then I'll kind of nod to myself. Yes, it is.
If we are offering bait, then we can choose the ground rather than facing them on ground that they've chosen with allies they may have found.
Yes, exactly. We have spare horses. You may join either one of us or take one of the spare horses to ride with us. We should go and look for them and bring us to justice. Bring them to justice. And my clan will be saved. My clan will be...
My arm isn't exactly... Don't know if I'll be able to ride a horse, so I'd need someone to saddle with.
We'll see young turtle move towards a horse and sort of leaps up to mount on it, but as she kind of like moves up, you see her change her disguise kind of and lands on the horse and suddenly looks just like the soldier next to her, and then kind of quickly moves away through the crowd as he kind of like looks and then sidesteps.
Okay.
Tian?
I think Tian is very happy to just like fill in wherever. He's not paying very close attention to these social dynamics, because if we're out here and we're chasing somebody and haven't found them, then it probably means that we're being chased or about to be ambushed. So I think he's looking for that, on the lookout.
Okay. So does that sound to you like maybe a study here?
Yeah,
Trying
I
to figure
think
out the
like
situation.
Whatever would apply to kind of switch into protect versus ambush mode.
Okay, let's have you roll study. You gather yourselves together. You're discussing where to go. Certainly, these two renegades are a target, but you also still have the issue of Silver Crane and the issue of the missing magistrate. So Mike, let's start with a study from you.
Yeah, so I'm going to use wood for patience and curiosity. And that's 7 on the dice plus 2 for a 9.
Okay, so that will give you a hold. You get 1 hold. You can ask a question about a person, about a situation. You can learn a person's scale, or you can reveal a detail.
I think for expediency, if it's okay, I'd like to ask either where is Zemin or where will Zemin ambush us? Depending on what flows.
Yeah, I think that Zemin has headed back to the gallant Saber Guardians, but more precisely has headed back to speak with the other clan heads. Like he's going to try to figure out what's going on with the Iron Delegates, with the Ivory Cliff Guardians. He's going to try to find a way out of this. So how would you proceed then?
Yeah, because we haven't gone to the Ivory Cliff faction because they're very reclusive. We went to see young Turtle's grandmother instead when we were deciding between the two.
Perhaps we should tell the Iron Cliff Dragons, the Ivory Cliff Dragons, what's transpired and how what Silver Crane is actually planning to do. Perhaps they will join us.
Yep. And I think it makes sense for us to want to do that, even if or because we don't know that Zemin is going, and then that's a good scene framing for we're going with a specific purpose. There's already something going on. There'll be a lot of chance to pick up and pull on threads.
Okay. So you will head towards this. I think we'll probably see from your end of the things, Crystal Flower, that the people that you've brought with you will head off to carry those messages to bring that to bear as the four of you head to perhaps uncover something, perhaps find a connection, or perhaps lure these two out from the ambush that you expect there to be. Let me ask you this, Bai Xiaofeng. What is the thing that tells you as you are heading towards these clan households? What is the thing that tells you that Zemin is nearby?
I think there would be kind of this. I'd have this sense of like eyes watching me, dark eyes watching me. Kind of similar to when I was having the kind of dreams I was having after being stabbed and then kind of partly unconscious. That kind of feeling. And I think it would be kind of cool if that feeling also resonates in the Ice Star sword. So it's like some kind of weird connection that the sword has the ability to kind of sense a little bit of danger.
I think that is perfect, and I think you were in an area traveling. There's a little bit of woods and such around. You've had to dismount from horseback, and the four of you are making your way along when you will definitely get that feeling of that a figure watching you, of that pressure there. Even as that happens, I have a question for Young Turtle. Young Turtle, what is the thing that tells you that your brethren from the Black Mountain sect, that those assassins have been following and watching?
I hear a scrap of song whistled. It's a childhood melody that I always associated with my brother, and I sort of hear it and then turn to look into the shadows and know only that one of them has left that scrap of music to alert me, to kind of set me on edge.
You four are there when Zemin steps out from the foliage at the side of the road, and rather than ambush, presents himself and steps in front of you by Xiaofeng.
See, you've recovered.
As have you.
So, you still want to kill me?
I don't think that's a question anymore. Do you? Musical stinger there.
Is Linghua with you?
Your eyes are elsewhere.
Then I'll actually turn and like call out Linghua and just see if there's any response.
So you don't see any response. Let me get what your reaction is to this crystal flower. Zemin, who you loved, has appeared. He doesn't make any eye contact with you. Instead, he steps and addresses himself solely to Bai Xiaofeng.
You see crystal flowers hand on the handle, the pommel of Star, the sable, and the blade start to glow a little bit, like eyes blue, and crystal flower steps right up and stands right in front of Bai Xiaofeng, like facing Zemin and say, "You have a lot to explain to me and to the clan."
And that's the tableau, Tian, Young Turtle, that you will see as you will hear the figures kind of moving through the woods and kind of closing the circle around you. Young Turtle, what do you do?
I am going to look around, and I'm trying to figure out where all of our enemies are placed.
Let's have you make a study roll.
Let's do a study roll.
And then we'll come to Tian and set the stage there.
I think my study roll will be wood, which is -1. That makes the most sense to me. All right, so 4 and 6, 10 -1, 9.
9. So you have one hold to ask a question or declare something.
Where are the enemies that are closest to me?
There are a group of 3 that have moved essentially to close in on you. There's another group of 3 moving towards Tian. They are taking advantage of the distraction that Zemin is providing here.
You see young turtle kind of shake some things from her sleeves into her hands and sort of look ready.
And Tian, what do you do?
I think Tian sends up the call of "We are encircled," and kind of whips out his rope chain and kind of wraps it back down his arm like we've seen him do before.
And so you will ready yourselves. We'll see the noise. We'll hear the noise, and we'll see the movement of those figures there. Zemin steps. He's going to try and move you aside, Crystal Flower.
I stand firm, I stood firm and say, I raised up my staff, the sword, my saber, and just say, stop. This has to stop now. And the blade glows blue, start to tremble, shake and turn. You can feel the coldness increase in the air.
What would you do if he does not stop?
Then I'll fight. I'll fight back. Just
then you see him step and go to draw his blade, Crystal Flower.
Then I'll draw my blade as well. I start to I slide into the guard mode, going. You have a lot to explain. I thought I liked you, but you have a heart of a snake.
And he flinches and raises his blade up. Bai Xiaofeng.
Can I read his intent? Does he still have that? Does it look like a
Sure,
study?
make a study roll.
Yeah, so I'm going to use this will obviously be water, awareness, wisdom. Perfect for that. A 2 and a 1, so that's 3 plus 2, 5.
I think you will realize too late that he intends to let Crystal Flower kill him. Crystal Flower, please roll your style element.
Style elements, my style elements, water, +2.
Okay.
4 plus 2, 6.
6. He steps up at you. Blade comes out in a flash, and you move your blade in, and you will sink that into him. We'll come back to you in just 1 second.
Oh my god.
Let Tian, young turtle, how do you deal with these 3 assassins? These are the ones that were trained as you were. They've come. They're clearly going to take this opportunity to clear you from the table.
Well, suddenly you see the things in young turtle's hands are revealed as tiny smoke bombs, and she goes pop, and they fly towards the assassins, and kind of there's a sort of flash and explosion of smoke as she dives off of the horse and tries to kind of roll and come up in front of them with her knives drawn.
If they had the element of surprise, they would probably be on your scale, but they don't. So let's have you deal with troops. You roll with your style element. We'll see how easy it is for you to deal with these 3.
And I'm trying to remember what my style is. I believe it is Earth. All right.
It is Earth.
Where are you? 5 and 4, 9 plus 1, 10.
Oh yeah, tell me what that looks like. Like, how do you dispatch them with grace and ease?
You see just a kind of thump, and the grenades go off, and then you see her kind of like tumble off the horse and then emerge from the cloud of smoke with the daggers flashing as she comes out of the smoke.
Tim, they fly back. The blades cut into them. They stagger back. Meantime, what are you doing, Tian? How do you deal with these three?
So now we're going to see an evolution of Tian kind of like swinging through the hallway, and he's going to go. It's going to look more like monkey style as he's like brachiating through the trees and forcing. Basically, he's keeping the three from converging on him because he's circling them, and they're having to try to like re-triangulate. And then once he's got them moving, he kind of will jump and then whip out and like kind of strike them at like full extension, like a striking asp, going from tree to tree.
Yeah, and when that hits, it hits with the force that we hear the crack of it as it solidly hits, and they cry out as they're flung back by those strikes that shouldn't have nearly the force that they do. Crystal Flower, you put this blade right through him, much as you put it through Bai Xiaofeng, but here with an even more deeper finality, it will go into the heart of your once beloved.
As I do that, you can see one like crystal tear like flow down the cheek, and she just digging deeper, like, and then she slowly pull it out.
He says, "I am a villain. Remember that. I am a villain." As he starts to stagger and fall, and he will begin to sink to his knees. Bai Xiaofeng.
Yes.
What do you do, Doctor?
I help people.
And what do you do now, Doctor, as this person who has hunted you, abused you, begins to die in front of you?
I don't even respond, and as he like falls over and makes it nice and dramatic.
Yeah, you do not step in to keep him from dying, then, is my question?
Yeah.
He grabs at his chest, and he collapses there and dies. And that sort of slump to the ground is sort of the last sound as these assassins all, hit the ground from that fight. And Zemin is there dead. How do you react, Crystal Flower?
I think outwardly, Crystal Flower is stoic, but we can see like tears coming down. And
yeah, let's have you roll inner conflict again. I think this is an appropriate time for that.
It's two.
Just a little bit. So there was 2d6, and you got a 2 on 2d6.
No, 2. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, I'm re-rolling again.
Okay.
5, 6.
Ooh, nice. So total of 6.
2d6 was right. Okay.
Yeah.
6, 1.
Okay, so 7. So what element are you rolling with?
I'm rolling in water now.
Okay. So you may choose. You can mark water and not be able to use it until you get that cleared, or you can kind of break down and flee from this scene.
I will just not flee from the scene. I'll just stand there stoically.
Okay, then mark water, your style element.
Okay.
And I think with that quiet, with those troops falling there, with the men on the ground, is when we will take our break and we will come back, because Silver Crane still is out there. The Peacock Saber is still out there. Your brother is still out there, and something must be done. So we will take 5 and then come back, okay?
Be back, everybody. All right, we're back. I just want to quickly say, Coven Guy, thank you for the resub, tier 2 for 5 months. Awesome. Thanks for supporting Arv and all the various endeavors that he puts on this channel that just shows you, like how awesome this community is when people like you support it. And let's leave it back to Lowell for more of this Wuxia drama.
So I'm going to speak with Tian and Young Turtle in a second. And we've seen how Crystal Flowers reacted to this. Bai Xiaofeng, you have just let a person, let a man die in front of you. Doctor, how are you feeling?
Yeah, it's something I haven't experienced, so this would definitely be an inner conflict. Especially, I tried to help him, but he just wouldn't, and I don't understand why he let himself. It's just more trying to understand. And
what do you want to roll that with?
That's going to be I'm just gonna do water again. Just try and find some awareness. Go. 5 and a 2, so it's 7, 8, 9.
Do you want to mark water, or do you want to flee from this?
I'll mark water.
Okay. Let me ask you this. When you were sent away from the Golden Needle, what did your master say to you that right now you're recalling? What was the thing they said? What was the reason they said that has now come back to haunt you in this moment?
You should always try and help people, even if they're trying to kill you, even if they goes against every fiber of your being. Just, you need to. People always need help.
And you, Bai Xiaofeng, I do not know if when that moment comes, which way you will turn. If you will help or you will turn away. You hear those words from your master once again. Let me ask you, Tian, since you have been the one investigating all of this, have been the sort of the lead on the Silver Crane situation, where do you think your road goes from here?
So I think I would expect that as soon as Silver Crane has the sword, he's going to consolidate power. And if he has all 3 keys and the sword, then that probably looks like inviting the leaders of other clans to a big meeting where he will kind of bind them to become truly subservient and folded into the Iron Delegates, or kind of face the Peacock Saber. Because we have only a little bit of detail about like other plans, and I think for lack of that, the thing that seems thematically appropriate is like revisiting the existing relationships we have among the factions that we've seen, or it looks something like maybe it could be bringing one of the unorthodox sects in to recognize them and then supplant one of the existing sects.
Well, certainly
probably some kind of faction stuff.
I will assume that we can actually probably do a wipe here to show you bringing Zamin's body back to the Gallant Saber Guardians. Would you give him that honor, Crystal Flower?
I will bring him back to the Gallant Saber, the clan house, and have him like cremated in a very public, like ceremony. But I instruct all the apprentices and all the swordsmen, clans people to just leave the place where he's being burned. So he will burn into the cold, we call it. That he's like, we are there, but we're not mourning his death in a way. Like I said. We're not mourning his death, but you're mourning his death too. It's just kind of like. So I watch out. Most of us will just watch the body burn from a distance. Like,
and it's cold.
It's
your
cold.
Blade makes it colder. Your blade and yourself. I mean, the air around you cools to a crisp.
Yes.
Even as the heat doesn't hit you, even as they do this, and as Heaven's Justice predicted, as Heaven's Justice said, even as this ceremony is finishing up, one of the servants will come and will say, Crystal Flower.
Yes.
Senior, Silver Crane has asked that you, as leader of our household, come to the estate of the Iron Delegates. He has summoned the clan leaders for a meeting.
Then we should go. Perhaps our friend Linghua there as well.
Young Turtle, what are you about?
I am watching because I'm still worried about my brother popping up. It seems to me that these things have gotten more and more complicated, and that just given the way things have been going, he's sure to show up. And so you can see Young Turtle kind of looking around suspiciously from time to time, just being very watchful and perhaps a little excessively paranoid.
That makes sense. Everyone here, no one knows exactly who you are. You've been mistreated by your grandmother. You have no news about your brother. Bai Xiaofeng has acted in a most unusual way.
Most unusual.
So, Tian, what about you? Any preparations you are making? There's been this call for this meeting.
If it's okay, I think, or what I'd like to do is cut away from the scene to
Perfect.
Tian already in his Heaven's Justice persona, trying to break into the Iron Delegates stronghold.
Absolutely.
Because
so
we don't have the evidence that we need. So I want to try and either steal back the evidence that was stolen from me or find something else.
Then let's do that scene, and then we'll bring Bai and Crystal Flower and Young Turtle onto the stage at the household. The Iron Delegates, big, beautiful estate there, more solid, more fearsome, more metal present in the designs of it there. That those colors of black and gold, there, everything kind of done in those dark blacks, accented with the gold around there. And you, my friend, have no problem getting in, I believe, right? You have all of the tricks for this.
Yeah, so I've got the move Tracing Shadow. When you study a place looking for a way in, on a hit you find access in addition to any other questions. So that kind of...
Yeah,
I think
let's...
we'll see that establishing shot, and then we pull back to Heaven's Justice, kind of in the trees or like a bit of rocky cliff beside it, and you realize we've been seeing him case the joint. And then I'm going to roll this study with fire, and I think we see that he's kind of full of energy and anticipation. So his eyes flick from corner to corner and kind of watch the movement of the guards. And that's 10 on the dice plus 1 for 11. So I'll get the way in addition to the study questions.
You've got 2 hold for study, plus what is the path that you find to make your way in here?
I think what we see is maybe there's actually a scuffle between a lieutenant of the Iron Delegates and one of the the Dark Cobweb Assassins. Kind of 2 lieutenants of scale who are having a disagreement, and it's escalating, and that's drawing a crowd. And then Tian can go, Heaven's Justice can go around it because everyone is turned toward this quadrant of the grounds.
And it does seem like there are people here from other minor factions. It does seem like Silver Crane has brought a rogues gallery of other forces here, even as you make your way in. And you have 2 study to ask or declare.
So do I also need to roll for the break-in?
No, I think you find a way in. Okay. And I think in this case, because you've also got the it takes a thief, I don't even think we need a roll then at that point.
Okay. So I think in terms of using the hold, the first one, or I'm going to establish a detail that is, it's actually a underground, vault/office. And so we get a quick montage of Heaven's Justice flitting through the building and evading guards. And he makes a quick circuit of a variety of rooms and doesn't find what he's looking for. And kind of an escalation, or the cracking and breaking of ceramic, draws his attention back outside. And as he kind of returns to his efforts, he notices a seam, that the mats on the floor have a slightly a broken line. Like they should all line up if everything were neat and tidy and the household was in order, but they're ajar. And so the detail is the other thing is like an entrance to Silver Crane's kind of mastermind layer.
Essentially, the safe, the trophies, the notes, the sketches he's picked up over the years about the peacock saber, all of those things telling him, what it is, bits and pieces that he's pulled together of lore, all of that. And then what do you want to use your second hold for then?
Yeah, and I think inside there is there's a lot of paperwork, and he quickly turns it in the same way that we've seen him turn a scene like on the barge. And he's getting frustrated because there's nothing there. But he notices an old chest in a corner with kind of a mostly dust-covered top, except there is there's a sign of basically 3 peacock feathers unfolding above the lock. And he pulls out one of the feathers that he got from young Turtle's grandmother and tries it, and it breaks. And he pulls out another and tries it, and he just barely manages to get it open. And in there, he discovers the paperwork that he had found on the barge, along with some other things. But knowing that this escalation can only last so long, I think that's probably all he manages to grab before he decides to pull out of the basement.
There is one other thing that you will find in there with those papers. You will see a notebook that you will recognize as Hao Zhao's essentially notebook, his journal book that he kept with him with his notes on investigations, and it is thrown into the corner of this. Pages are torn out, and the rest of it has been thrown into here.
Yeah, I think he grabs that as well and cannot help but flip to the last couple of pages to try to see.
There's pages missing, gone, torn and burnt.
And then I think we get an inner conflict here as Tian is torn between returning to his friends right away and pressing on to try to find his mentor.
Then let's have you roll. And then I'm going to come to Young Turtle.
And I'm going to roll that. I'm going to roll that with wood for patience, and we'll see how his patience holds up. Hey, that's 8 on the dice plus 2, so he gets a 10.
You keep yourself together.
And I think
you can decide freely what you want to do.
I think he loves his master dearly, but he trusts that. Actually, he thinks back to the road, and he realizes that he's more likely to succeed as a part of this knotted rope of friends and allies than as a single strand. And kind of he extricates himself, or we see kind of on his face that he's going to leave, and maybe we cut the scene there.
Young Turtle, you made your way into the household of the Gallant Saber Guardians disguised as one of these soldiers. And we've probably seen you flip between a couple of different disguises while you've been here. What is the disguise you're going to create for yourself to go along with Crystal Flower to this big meeting?
I'm going to seem as though I'm one of her maids, and kind of tending her personal appearance as she goes along. And in fact, I'm quite officious and somewhat annoying because I'm getting carried away with the role as we go along.
I like that. We certainly see Crystal Flower in a little more formal outfit, I assume, than usual.
Straighten her out.
Straighten her out. Yeah. I do want to do a brief scene with Bai Xiaofeng before we head out to there. After this cremation has gone on.
Yeah, I would speak to Crystal Flower and just go up and say, "There's something I need to tell you."
Yes. What is this? What is it?
Out in the forest with Zamin, he that brief moment, like all I saw was he had sadness for what he did. He had some kind of repentance, but just couldn't live with himself. I think. So that's why he went that far. I think he wanted you to do it.
I know.
I've never in my life experienced someone like that. Everyone from bandits to nobles, they all want to live. But I've never seen someone who wanted to die.
You see Crystal Flower just turn away, and then she nodded and said, "I know," again.
Sorry.
You do not have to apologize. You did what you did. You did what you could. So did I. Now let's see what the thing will unfold and how we'll bring everything right again. Let's go.
Yes, let's go.
And Tian slips back to his compatriots now in his Tian outfit, I assume.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't want to spend that reveal here. So he comes back and comes back through the. Actually, he has a like a bouquet that he picked up from a florist near the tea house that he lives above. And the bouquet also kind of hides the documents. And so he kind of returns to the Gallant Saber Guardians and kind of presents himself to whoever's at the door, saying that, well, he's here to see Crystal Flower, and that he has a gift for the house to pass on. And basically the idea here is that this bouquet is going to go with Crystal Flower to the Iron Delegates as part of a show of fealty kind of thing. And it's an extra prop that we can do stuff with.
Okay. So we get the montage of the group from the Gallant Saber Guardians heading to the household of the Iron Delegates. We get a montage of the Ivory Cliff Dragons there arriving there as well. We see a number of them, and we see other figures that have been on stage before. We will definitely see Silver Crane, bowing and welcoming everyone in a good humor to the gathering. Great banners and silks have been laid out in the hall. Chairs have been set. Everything has been put out to welcome everyone in a most honored way. But we will also see young Snake, and he is there with Min Yu, Tian Yu's mother. They are there as well. And we will also see that young woman, Magistrate Gao, is here on the scene, though she looks like maybe she snuck in. Like maybe she's not supposed to be here, but she's trying to blend in. She has a little mustache that she's put on that is fooling everyone, and she's kind of walking around like this and trying to figure things out. Clearly, both looking for her magistrate, but also expecting that sinister villain, that exciting, intoxicating, sinister villain, young turtle, might be here, and that she's trying to keep her heart quiet in case they show up. But you will be greeted at the gate by young Snake, who is clearly Silver Crane's lieutenant, who will greet you and will say, "It is an honor to have you amongst us, Crystal Flower. My master bids I give you our sympathies for the developments in your household."
Crystal Flower just nods.
"Please come into the great hall. They are gathering, and soon my master has an announcement to make." And his eyes just pass right over Young Turtle. Doesn't even register. Young Turtle's just someone there. He does see Bai Xiaofeng and say, "Bai Xiaofeng, and how are you?"
I've had better days.
"Well, come, doctor. Come. There is wine. Perhaps that will serve as a balm to heal your soul for a bit."
I just nod.
And then Young Snake turns to you and says, Tian,
I hoped that I might call upon my mother if she is still staying in the city. I assumed that she
she's here
was visiting with you.
yes. She has accepted the hospitality of Silver Crane. She is there, and he gestures and clearly says, it indicates that if you wish to speak with her, he will give you your privacy. And he bows and steps away.
Cool.
Do you wish to talk to your mom?
Yeah, I think.
Let's do that, and then I'm going to come back to the others.
Yeah, I think what Tian wants to do is he wants to read his mother into all of the scum and villainy. Because if she knows that her former flame, renewed flame, is a dastardly villain, then maybe things go well. It's not actually the best idea, but he's called by his duty to his family to try to make it so that she's not caught up in all of this in the way that he fears she would be otherwise.
Then you go to speak with her, and she greets you. She is, again, doesn't think this is the greatest place for you to be. You can tell that's on her mind. But you will go and you tell her the story, right?
Yeah, and I think he goes through the story, and kind of anticipating that she's going to kind of raise disbelief in either the accusations against Young Snake's character, or well, how do you know any of this? And then we flash back to him pulling as he leaves the flowers, kind of maybe on a front table at the household. He slipped the documents into his jacket, and then we see him produce them again and kind of try to shield them from the crowd, and show them to her. I found these on a gambling barge, the House of Profligate Numbers, where Young Snake is known as Uncle Silver. And I am heartbroken to say that he and Silver Crane are not who they say they are. They are among the most corrupt villains that this city has ever seen. And we are in great danger now.
Let's have you roll hearts and minds.
Cool. So in my notes, I have a +1 on this from previously using the Tracing Shadow move.
Right.
So that's going to be a +1 forward to apply here. And I think he's kind of dropping any shields or whatever that he might have, and he's really speaking from the heart with fire and passion, and trying to convey to his mother that this isn't some childish flight of fancy. This is all real. So that is a 6 and a 5 on the dice, +1, so that's a 13.
And she will say, I know. And I will go as you ask me to. But you must protect Young Snake, as he has protected us for years.
If he's allowed to get away from this without facing justice, he will continue to have leverage over our family.
He is our family.
I just saw.
She looks down to step away.
Cool. That went terribly. I love it.
She agrees. She agrees. She will do what you want, and she will leave. But she will leave with those words, with that revelation.
Okay.
So, young turtle, no one is paying you a second glance. You are amongst the many officious servants that are around, gathering this household as this big ceremony, this big sinister ceremony is being made ready here.
I'm very curious about all the arrangements, and I'm particularly looking for any sort of traps being set up, and perhaps setting up a few of my own little threads here and there, a flash bomb tucked in a curtain, that sort of thing. But I just want to make sure that when things go down, there's fewer things that could go wrong than possibly.
Then I think that's. Is it that we want to have you roll to find the traps, or do you want to deal with the traps that you know he's got set up?
I want to deal with the traps that I know he's got set up.
Then let's have you roll overcome.
Okay.
Because you definitely know traps. You definitely know assassins.
And I pick the element, or is it automatically?
You pick the element.
Okay. Let's try Earth, for this is caution and presence and focus. Whoops, and that is a 2 and a 4, and plus 1 is 7.
7. So tell me how you dispatch some of the of your brethren assassins that have been secreted in various places around the household here.
Oh, you see me like go up to one and pretend to be kind of, I can see where they're hidden. I pretend to be dusting that corner and sort of generally making things tidy. And then I just happen to whack them on the head as I go about doing this.
And you'll take out a couple of them, and you've just like dragged the last one of them, and you turn and you see this woman, and she goes, "Young turtle!" And you see it's Magistrate Gao.
Ah!
And she's like, "I have you now!"
And I jump, and as I land to flashbang, grenades go off again, and you see me flip backwards, trying to disappear out the doorway.
Okay. Let's have you do overcome again here, because she's going to try and catch you. Going to try and capture you here.
I'm going to use fire for this, for speed. All right, 4 and 2 and 6 plus 2 is 8.
I think that you'll be able to get away, but you've certainly alerted the guards that there is an intruder on the grounds, and security is now like now there's noise and hubbub and a tumult going on, and it is going to make your hiding and passing around here significantly more difficult. Does that seem fair?
That seems fair.
So you are out making your way around. Tian, do you rejoin Crystal Flower, I assume, after that? Or are you going to do something else? Because I just want to frame myself on what I need to do for this next scene.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on a structural level. I think I'm going to stay in Tianyu mode and try to reconnect with somebody in the party in terms of not getting isolated.
Okay. So, Crystal Flower, you are called in to this grand hall by Xiaofeng. Do you accompany her as like one of her group? And
if she wants me, obviously, she's the leader. She gets to decide.
Yeah. What do you think, Crystal Flower?
He can walk beside me. Yes.
And you will
This-
come in, and you will see you are given an honored position at the right hand. There's seats there. There's seats across for the Ivory Cliff Dragons, and you can see then the chair at the center for Silver Crane, and he waits for everyone to be seated. And he looks around. Tian, you've kind of filed in, I assume, are in the room here. And Silver Crane says, brothers, sisters, it is with sadness, only with sadness, that I take up this mantle to lead these R3 factions. But though I am sad that Lian Hua and the Gallant Saber Guardians have been put in a difficult position, I believe that we will herald a new era for our clans. For too many years, the Gallant Saber Guardians have held the reins and have kept other groups from joining to make our larger clan stronger. Well, that will change today. We will be adding to our numbers, and we will be taking our rightful position as the leaders of the Wuxia world. We will be the rulers of this world now. And I ask all of you to give me your loyalty and your fealty this day. And he turns to the Ivory Cliff Dragons, their leader, older gentleman, and you can see he looks uncomfortable, but you see him stand up and he bows and he says, we will follow you, Silver Crane.
Oh, just a moment. And Tianyu kind of pops up, and he's very bright and kind of very much in his socialite mode. And what's the name of the Ivory Cliff Dragons leader?
Let me give him a name, because I don't think we have given him a name yet. We will call him Empty Falcon.
Master Empty Falcon, I'm so sorry. There's something you should probably know before you affirm that oath. I happen to have acquired, and then Ace, Phoenix Wright style, he pulls out the paperwork and kind of just with purpose walks through or around the crowd to hand the paperwork to Empty Falcon and Empty Falcon alone and say, the throne of the Iron Delegates is built on lies and blood, and they do not deserve leadership in Wulin.
I think you will hand that to Empty Falcon, and you will see him do that look at Silver Crane, and he will realize that Empty Falcon has been compromised. And he says, I do not think you have a place to speak here, young man. What clan do you belong to?
I am of the city, as we all are. And if you are going to ignore facts, then that's a problem maybe to your clan, and kind of turn to the Ivory Cliff delegates. And I want to try in hearts and minds to get him to cave based on social pressure from the people around him.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Basically, that he cannot be seen as being weak in the way that he is showing himself here.
Let's have you roll. What do you want to roll that with?
I think I'm going to let it roll with fire, because this is creativity, speed, and passion, and like the thing he expected to happen hasn't happened, so now he's acting, he's kind of reacting on his feet. So that is, dice are still hot. That's an 11.
So I think he will bow to your words and look at the thing and sit down. And I think that is the point at which Silver Crane says, "Your words offend me. You are not of our clan. You deserve no audience here. And I will gladly have an example made of you as to how we will now handle things amongst this faction." And you will see people moving to step forward, though he looks around and clearly less people come to step forward than they might otherwise. But you'll definitely see young Snake step up. Now, let me put a pause on you because I want to get other people's reactions on this scene. When this goes on, what do you do, Crystal Flower? It looks like things are about to get thrown down, and things are about to break out here.
Crystal Flower, I stand there and just go quietly and watch, like cold.
Absolutely. You kind of wait, holding position. By Xiao Feng, what about you?
All I do is say, shouldn't the head of a clan be able to decide for themselves after reading documents, and not be pushed around by another?
Are you trying to hearts and minds here? What is it your goal
Yeah, I'm
here?
trying to do a bit of hearts and minds, see if I can persuade
Who are you going to persuade?
Well, I'm putting more into the Ivory Cliff Dragons, and
Okay.
seeing if we can get more persuasion on that, so that they decide for themselves rather than listen to Silver Crane and the Iron Delegates. So I'm going to use. Oh man, I only got. Do we get a rest before that? Because I've got like. Nothing.
I don't think anybody said anything about resting.
Alrighty. I'm gonna use metal then. I'm gonna go. Actually, yeah, I'll use metal. Sure, let's do it.
Okay.
Alright. This is dangerous. Let's go for it. A 5 and a 1, so it's 6, 7, 8, 9. 9.
So I think that your words will start to create like some animosity, like there definitely some hubbub going on amongst that clan. But you also see that there are other forces here, these other clans, these other groups that Silver Crane has brought, and you can see definitely people are standing and hands are going to weapons. Young Turtle, are you here? Are you somewhere looking for your brother? What are you up to?
I am lurking in the shadows, basically, still anxiously looking for my brother. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Then let's have you make a study roll.
Okay.
What do you want to roll with?
Let's roll with Earth, which is +1, I believe. Although I have lost that window. 6 and 1 + 1, 8.
8. So you get 1 hold. You can declare a detail or ask a question.
I'm going to declare as a detail that I've positioned myself in such a way that I will see anyone making an entrance to the room. So no one's going to be able to kind of sneak up.
I'll give you a flip on that, actually, if I may.
I don't know what that means.
What I mean is actually you will see, rather than an entrance, you will see Silver Crane, as this breaks out, clearly send someone out of the room to go and do something. And you will see this figure take off into deeper into the household.
Can I follow them?
Absolutely.
Then of course I will.
And we will see you taking off and following this figure. We've seen them once before. We've seen them in the very earliest session. They were the assassin that was hired by young serpent in the early part of this. The sort of fake magistrate person who is clearly heading off to take care of some business to make sure that some evidence isn't left around.
Okay.
And you're in pursuit of them. He pulls off of his cloak. Silver Crane throws it off, and he draws out this blade. And he holds it in front of him, and it is brilliant silver metal, that kind of mirrored metal that catches the light. If in those Shaw Brothers films, when they have that and the light bounces off of it, it kind of blinds as it goes. And you can see that it is decorated with metal feathers. And he gestures towards you for a second, Tian, and then he flicks his blade towards the Ivory Cliff delegates who are there, kind of like, I don't know what's going on. And you will see feathers sprout from throats. And you will see them, and a good half dozen of them collapse into their seats. And Silver Crane says, "Are there other objections?" And begins walking towards you, Tian.
And I think at this point, Tian will kind of he's basically trying to enforce social order in terms of like overall law. Like, if there were a magistrate here who just saw you commit murder against 6 members of another faction, they might have something to say. If there were orthodox factions here who value the rule of law, they might have something to say here. And he's going to give opportunity for other people to speak up.
Well, the only Orthodox faction that remains here amongst it that are not under his thumb are the Gallant Saber Guardians, and Silver Crane is walking down to deal with this. So what do? You will see Young Serpent has also stepped forward, as well as a variety of Iron Delegate forces are moving. What do you do, Crystal Flower?
I kind of stand up because I'm sitting right. I stood up.
Sure.
I draw my blade. And it's just glowing blue now. I say, "This is wrong. This has to stop. Whatever you're doing, Silver Crane, is evil. We will not allow this."
And he stops, and he gestures for you to engage him.
Yes, I kind of look at him and say, "I will not engage with an unorthodox censored word."
Absolutely.
I will not dirty my hands with someone unworthy to fight with. So I kind of like, I stood up, I walk away.
Then I would like you to overcome.
Overcome.
Yes.
I overcome with fire.
Okay.
5. 1. I roll a 1 and 3 and plus 1, so it's like 5.
So I need you to mark fire
Oh no.
as he leaps across and cuts you down
Oh
as you
no.
step away from him.
Okay.
And you are knocked down to the ground. Bai Xiao Feng, what do you do?
Seeing that, I try and get in between them and try and see if I can pull Crystal Flower out of this situation.
Absolutely. You know you're no match for him one-on-one.
No.
Let's have you roll overcome.
I cannot fight this. All right, metal, here we go. Another 5 and a 1. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So that's a 9.
But I can do 10 because I have a... Oh, it's a bond with Tianyu. No. Unless I got a bond from the talking to her before, which I don't think I did. So
it's a
9.
You only have the Tianyu, so that is a 9. So I think you have to mark your medal to get her out of there. You will. What does that look like? What do we see in the midst of, as suddenly fight? I mean, the people that are surrounding the rest of the Gallant Saber Guardians, fights begin to break out around. How do you get Crystal Flower out of there before Silver Crane can finish her off with the Phoenix Saber?
So I unwrap my my bandages and use my technique to kind of like temporary hold him from behind, like he doesn't expect it, so it's from behind and his arms are kind of like wrapped together with his body, and he's like trying to fight it off, and I try and rush over there and grab Crystal Flower and pull out, but I can feel like he will break it, and just as a swipe comes down to me, I am able to get her out, but I take a hit too.
Throws it away and launches, and you are peppered with those feathers across your back, and you'll feel them go in deep even as you're dragging Crystal Flower away. Tiana, I'm going to come back to you in a second. I want to deal with young Turtle. This figure picks up the pace as he hears noise coming from the other way and rushes through. You see him run to a room where there are a couple of guards, and he says, Silver Crane has ordered me to finish the prisoner. And they step aside, and this guy begins to go into a room, drawing a blade. What do you do?
Can I follow him without being seen, or
how would you do that? There are a couple of guards outside the door. He's rushing into the room. Tell me your technique.
I am going to pretend to be I don't have a lot of time. I'm going to run up and say, Silver Crane has requested your presence immediately to the guards, and then follow him into the room.
Let's have you roll hearts and minds then. I think this is you trying to fool them.
Yes, and so let's try fire.
Okay.
This is surely creative. 3 and a 6 and a 2 is 11.
Oh yeah, they take off. Even as you see this guy come into the room, he doesn't pay attention to you because his eyes are surely fixed upon the chained up Hao Zhao as he moves to go and kill your brother.
Well, I'm going to leap in front of him to defend my brother.
Then let's have you roll overcome to be able to get in the way before he can do this stab.
Is this on my element?
Yeah, what element do you want to roll with?
So we'll try earth.
Okay.
+1, 2, and 3, a 6 altogether.
So you have a choice. You can mark earth and one other element, or he stabs your brother.
I think I will mark Earth and one other element.
What is it? What happens that you take such a terrible set of wounds? Now, don't forget, you can always choose to mark wounded instead of marking an element. So you could, for example, not mark your Earth so that you could still fight.
Okay, so I'm going to not mark my Earth and mark wounded instead, and then also mark water. I catch the blow on my armor and kind of manage to stave it off, but not without some damage to myself.
Absolutely. It pushes you back, and he's like, what, who are you?
I am a young turtle, and I'm here to keep my brother safe.
And
raise my daggers.
Pushing on you, pulls back the blade, has your blood running down it, and he prepares to engage you. We will come back. Tian, the situation has gotten out of hand very quickly. Bai Xiaofeng has pulled Crystal Flower to some measure of safety, but Silver Crane stands in the midst of this, even as his forces begin to cut down the few Orthodox people that still remain here.
And this is, are we in like a grand hall or a courtyard?
Oh yeah, a grand hall.
So I think seeing that, Tian will kind of back up a little, and then, like as the forces are moving in, he like dodges one, jumps, springs off their shoulder, and kind of swings himself around one of the big supports and quick changes into Heaven's Justice, and then drops kind of Batman style onto an eave looking down. Then if you will not face this kingdom's justice or the Wulin's justice, you will have Heaven's justice. You will have me. And he pulls out the chain, like his chain weapon, which is distinct from his rope weapon, that somehow he knew to hide here, or managed to plant here, and kind of pulls it out and starts spinning.
Okay. And you are getting yourself into position. Crystal Flower, you black out for a moment, and then you realize that you're being pulled to safety. You look up, you see Bai Xiaofeng. You feel the pain from the blow that struck you. You can tell you have your water element marked, so fighting until you get that taken care of is not going to be a possibility. What do you want to do?
I kind of like looks at Bai Xiaofeng and say, deal with this. I know you can do this. Bring us to justice. Look for Ling Hua.
You're not dying here.
Kill Silver Crane.
Are you trying to comfort, support?
I'm
Bai
going
Xiaofeng?
to use
Is that what you're doing?
the promise.
Yes, I'm trying comfort and support.
Okay, then what do you want to roll that with?
I have everything.
You have fire?
You got fire and wood.
Yes, I will use fire.
Okay. Then let's have you roll with that.
Okay, I roll a 9.
9.
Yes.
So, Bai Xiaofeng, those words, do they reach you?
Yeah, I'm actually, because of I'm gonna try and help her. Like, she's not gonna die on my hands.
Then you get to clear one of your elements, and then what do you do?
Which will be metal, and I'm gonna use the promise to try and keep her alive.
Okay.
Help her.
So let's. She's not dying, so let's do this as a comfort and support with, and so that you can potentially heal her.
Comfort and support. Just trying to think if I want to. Do I get? I don't get marked. Do I get marked if I fail? I'm trying to think. I may need to fight as well.
Potentially, but
so
I mean, with the +3, there's almost no chance you could fail.
Yeah. Just what do I need again? I'm just trying to think.
You need a 7. All you need is a 7.
All right.
+3. Look at that.
Okay, I'm gonna risk it. Let's do it. This is
yes.
All right, here we go. 6 and a 1.
Let's
7, 8, 9, 10.
So you may clear Crystal Flower, you may clear one of your elements. So I would suggest water.
Water.
And with a 10 plus, you can clear another one of yours by Xiaofeng.
Oh, I will clear water as well.
What is it? What do we see on screen has you helping? I mean, is it words? Is it medicine? How are you assisting Crystal Flower in this moment?
Pretty much, you see him just absolutely just pull out a whole stack of needles and just thrust everything he's got on every bit of tool, every bit of pouch with medicine on the ground. And you see him move in rapid speed to bandage up and sew it and put herbs over it. And just basically the best work he's ever done in his life in such a tense moment. And it stops the bleeding just about. And it's enough for her to kind of recover enough to fight back.
It's skill, it's rapid, it's the kind of thing you could have done to save the other person, but you didn't. But now here you show your skill. We see that on screen. We see that as you kind of get, you and Crystal Flower can get back up. Meanwhile, so young turtle, this person is your scale, and he moves. He's got that straight saber, the red sash on it, and he steps and moves to circle you in this room, and you may roll duel with your style element.
All right. 2, a 1, and a 1 is a 4.
So, what goes wrong here?
Again, you see her kind of block a blow and just take a horrible, horrible wound in the process.
And I think you would have done that. You would have taken that blow. Like, you stepped back, you weren't quite ready for it as he comes in because he's fast, and you hear the chains jangle, and your brother leaps up and throws himself in the way of the blade.
Oh no!
And you see it go through him, and
no!
And he's starting to collapse to the ground, but he stopped the killing blow from striking you there.
And you hear young turtle just let out a wail of agony in the process.
And we will come back to you even as your brother is collapsing to the floor, the sounds of this chains there. Tian, you hear that in the distance, maybe even over the sound of all of this, but you see Crystal Flower and Bai Xiaofeng stand up, and even the fighting is going on around. The Gallant Saber Guardians that are left are trying to fight back these villains that are setting upon them. The last of the Ivory Cliff Dragons are trying to keep themselves together. It is a massive melee around in here, and in the midst of it stands Silver Crane, and you see Young Serpent kind of standing back, not doing anything. Doesn't have he's kind of got his blade out to defend, but he's not attacking or anything.
So I think while spinning the chain, and maybe for effect, if it's okay, like some of the feather darts shoot out, and basically Tian or Heaven's Justice is in full defense mode, and it's just like it's all he can do to not get torn up, and he will call out to Young Snake, the last master who wielded this blade brought death and blood to everyone around him, friend and foe alike. If you think you will get better, you are a fool. And I want Hearts and Minds to turn him against Silver Crane, drawing on the shared connection we have to Minyu.
Oh yeah, you still get that. Okay.
And I have the +1 on Hearts and Minds against him.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let it roll with fire, which is a +1, and then I have a +1 from a previous move, so I've got a +2, and that's 7 on the dice +2.
So a 9.
which is a great mixed result.
I think that you see him step and he says, Silver Crane, this is madness. And Silver Crane turns and cuts him down. Not even a hesitation, not even a pause. And young serpent grabs onto that blade to try and hold onto it, even as blood is running down his hands.
In that moment, actually, Heaven Justice was already jumping to try to stop it because he was going to try to honor his mother's request. But it's too fast and the blade is too powerful. But there's an opportunity. And so Tian kind of, we see a cool like wuxia move where basically he moves the whole chain around his body to whip up speed. And then he brings the chain onto and around Silver Crane's arm. And I want to try to disarm him and take the sword away.
All right. So the way we do this at this point, because we're at that sort of high point, is this is how you are starting to even the scale. And we actually do this as narrative. You don't even have to roll here. We are kind of setting this up. You've already taken him down one step. Young Serpent has, sacrificed himself to bring him down a step. The chain goes around his arm to bring him down another step. Bai Xiao Feng, how are you acting to draw his guard off? How are you acting to even the scale? I kind of like
the idea. You've got the chain on one arm, then I've got the cloth on the other arm, and then Crystal Flower, and then we're just like, go Crystal Flower, do it.
So around one arm, young serpent, young snake is still holding on to the blade as best he can, even as it's being pulled out. You can see that blood running down his hands. He's held on both of that. Crystal Flower, you have one shot at this. He is right now, for this moment, on your scale. If you can't do this, he will begin to slice down through your friends.
I will drive Ice Star into his heart.
Then let's see if that works. So roll with duel with your style element.
Shit. I rolled 6.
6?
Yes.
Now, you do have a bond you can burn.
Yes.
You can burn one of those bonds that you have to push that up to a 7 if you want.
I'll burn one of the bonds then.
Okay. So you have a choice. You can lose and get an XP, which I assume you don't want. You can deadlock with them, which I assume you don't want.
Okay.
But you can win at a cost. What cost do you pay to defeat him?
I lose an arm.
And you come in, you bring that sword right through him, and he pulls the peacock saber out of the body of young serpent, spins it around, and it comes right through your sword arm.
Okay.
Even as he twists and that cold, that frost, all that cold that you've been feeling feeds right into him, and his heart freezes from that. He drops to the ground. We cut briefly away. This pulls the blade out of your brother, young turtle. What do you do?
I fall to my knees beside him and go, no, why did you do that?
You're my sister.
Oh my God.
And you see her kind of rests her forehead against his for a moment. She says, I will avenge you. I will. And it's just, and she breaks down in tears again as you see the blood spreading out around them.
This assassin looks around. He realizes he can hear the sound of the fighting, and he realizes the situation may have turned, and he escapes. Even as you comfort the body of your dying brother, and there is chaos here, and it takes time. It takes all of you to bring yourselves together and to turn the tide against these forces. Even with Silver Crane dead, it takes time to clear the courtyard, to arrange to turn away the villains here, and I think as that is wrapping up, as that is finishing, you will see young Turtle come carrying the body of her brother, Tian.
And is the fighting done?
Yeah, this is at the tail end of it. She comes staggering in, carrying the dead body.
I think this is a good moment because it's, I guess, do the reveal again. So Tian will kind of run across the field and pull down the mask, kind of revealing his identity to young Turtle, as he crosses, calling out his master's name, tears in his eyes. And by Xiaofeng, there's the bloodied and the dead around. There is more work than
I'm so focused on helping Crystal Flower, making sure she's stabilized after losing an arm. I think that's probably what happens.
And so we will see you seal that up. What is your reaction to this, Crystal Flower?
I kind of sink onto the ground, bleeding, and my sword is next to me, and I just stay silent for a long time. Like, I'm just in pain all throughout.
And I think we move to our epilogues at this point.
Oh.
So our epilogues can happen either immediate days after Aftermath or down the road, something of that sort. Bai Xiaofeng, your lover, your ex-lover, is still out there, still hovering. Have the weight of the guilt of Zemin on you, but you've also saved so many people in this battle. What is the epilogue? What do we see? What do we see on screen, sort of in that end sequence or that post-credit sequence? What do we see for you?
I would see Lian Hua would eventually wake up, and there would be like a conversation between myself and Lian Hua, with possibly Crystal Flower there, and kind of like a let everything out type of thing, and see what her response is regarding everything that's happened. And I feel like because my time there,
does she forgive you? Is she? I mean, she's not a nice person. You know that.
that's a. I feel like with Crystal Flower there, kind of persuading. She eventually just has to move on. She eventually understands to move on, especially after seeing Crystal Flower with one arm. I mean, like, shows you how serious these events were.
She isn't effusive in her gratitude, but she thanks you for your service. And
I could see I'd probably be permanently, banished from coming to the Galleon Savior Guardians ever again, type of thing, as same as before.
It will never be spoken aloud that you are not permitted here, but that you will be a shadow haunting them if you return.
Yep.
And so, Crystal Flower, what do we see of you in the aftermath of all of this?
I kind of speak to my sister Lian Hua, and we have a heart-to-heart talk. And we talk about Linghua and how both of us are betrayed, and we both agree to be co-leaders of the Galen Saber Guardians, as in the clan will have 2 leaders now, Crystal Flower and Amber.
She says, "It is my fault that they turned. My treatment of them led them to this. I will need you by my side to keep such things from happening again."
I'll be there. I'll be there.
And what about you, Tian / Heaven's Justice?
Yeah, so I think the first thing we see is Tian with his mother, and she's crying because young Snake is dead, and he tells her the truth, but kind of warmed over for her purpose, that in the last moment he knew what was happening was wrong and stood up against injustice, but that I couldn't be there. I wasn't fast enough to save him, but we won the day. And he kind of brings up the evidence again and says, if we take this to Magistrate Gao and the other officials, they will be able to make clear what happened. But if we do, it will implicate him as well.
We cannot do that. Please.
I have another idea that may help us, and I think that scene is cut and interspersed with the 2 funerals of Young Serpent, where Tian is there with men, and like basically keeping eyes on whatever Iron Delegates are left, and it's like super tense. There, and we see like people have scars or whatever, or bruises still, but they there is a piece for that. And then Tian and Gao at and maybe Young Turtle at Hao Zhao's funeral, and I leave that, of course, to Kat. Yeah. So that's like his part of that scene. And then the last bit of the epilogue is Tian going to the 2 leaders to Crystal Flower to beg for the Gallant Saber Guardian's protection for his family.
Nice.
That they be brought in kind of as allies of, or that the House of Yu become kind of ally vassals of the Gallant Saber Guardians, so that his family can be protected. And that's it for him.
And Kat, last word, last epilogue. What is it we see from Young Turtle?
You see Young Turtle taking the body of her brother back to her village and setting it down in front of her grandmother, and just sort of glaring at the grandmother as though to say, you somehow caused all of this. And then you see her turning around and departing down the road for destinations unknown.
Ooh.
The sequel movie.
Excellent. And that's the end of our series. That is the end of it. Thank you so much. Wow.
Oh, we got to somehow get a second season of that going. That was
nice.
Great.
That was a blast. That was a really fun.
I could see like a 10 years later thing going on. It would just be absolutely crazy.
I ran this as a 12-session thing where we broke it up into 3 books and did like a jump forward a few years after each one. We had most of the same characters, most of the players returned each time, but we had like 1 or 2 different ones. So it was kind of this evolution over the course of it. And we had one character that started out as this naive hero who by the end turned corrupt and was cut down by another PC in the last scene.
Awesome.
So
Yikes.
thank you all so much for doing this and for playing along. Joyce, I'm so glad we got you back here for this last session. That was dynamite.
Everything came together. Brilliant.
That was great. Well, let's do the outro, sort of who everybody is, and say whatever you want to say. Sod underscore. Thank you so much for doing all that.
The only reason I have the underscore is because of the stream. Twitch, my Twitch username is the underscore. But this was an absolute blast, Lowell. This system you've designed is it's unlike anything I've ever played, and it's just so good. I don't know what else to say. I mean,
I've really enjoyed running
group storytelling and Wuxia drama just go like this together. It's absolutely perfect, and it's been a blast, and I would love to do more if possible.
Yes.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We've got the stretch goals have a bunch of interesting things. Like one of the women wrote a Chinatown 1905 kind of America sort of setting with, and has adapted this to do those kinds of stories. And there's some other fantasy and things that are coming, and I love these. If nothing else, you should watch the Chinese television dramas that are based on the Gulong and Jin Yang novels.
Yeah.
So good. They're so long and they're so crazy and they're so wonderful. There
was a Western one recently, but it's more of an actiony based one called Warrior, and it was set around that era. It was set in the US though, as Chinese immigrants were coming, and
that was one of the inspirations for this.
And it was actually really good.
Yeah.
So that's something. If you haven't seen that, definitely watch that if you want something similar to this. And then you can play this like that, and it's just
mind blowing.
Yeah. And so where can people find you, Sod, online?
You see me on this channel doing as Emberwind, Infinity and Beyond D&D, and possibly this next time. if we get this going. You see me on my channel as well, twitch.tv/Sod_, for where I stream random stuff. And that's about it, really.
Awesome. Joyce, what do you want to say, and where can people find you?
I'm just like, I'm blown away by this game, and I was like, I didn't expect Hearts of Wulin to lose an arm, but I meant it that way. It's more tragic in a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think Crystal Flower will wield her sword with her left hand this time. You can find me on Twitter as Jolantro, Facebook, and you can look for me on WordPress. I also write werewolves, and I draw mice, and I write science fiction and young adult.
Awesome. Mike, what do you want to say? What do you want to?
So this is the most of a Powered by the Apocalypse game that I've gotten to play. I've done way more with like Forge in the Dark stuff, but watching Powered by the Apocalypse games was a big part of me getting back into tabletop in the last few years. So it's really fun to get firsthand experience playing with this style and with a game that's kind of in the latest wave of designers using this engine and the tradition of Powered by the Apocalypse to get really specific and to dig into theme, which I think Hearts of Wulin has, with this game and other stuff, has really shown itself to be really exemplary about. I was joking earlier, like, I want the inner conflict move in like so many more games.
Every
now.
game should have it.
The way that this game and some other games that I've seen more recently concretize and mechanize other parts of storytelling that games that I played growing up just didn't at all is really fun, and I feel like it gives me a lot as a storyteller to work with, and doing this game together, especially because we have an audience, has felt in a lot of ways like what it was like for me working on Born of the Blade, the serial that I did with several other people because we did writer's room style. And this collaboration has been just fantastic, and I'm so grateful to get to play with you all. Folks can find me at michaelrunderwood.com or at Mike R. Underwood on Twitter. Like I said, I have an announcement coming very soon, but it didn't happen just yet, so I can't spoil it. Stay tuned to my Twitter or check my website, and I will announce when that is ready to go. And of course, I do speculate with Greg, that you can find at speculatesf.com, and that's me.
Awesome. Kat.
Let's see, where will you find me? You can find me on Twitter far too often as Cat Rambo on most social media. I do have a brand new book that just came out. It's a novelette called Carpe Glitter. I meant to have a copy hanging around to show you. It's a very pink cover. It has Nazi robots and hoarding grandmothers and stage magicians and glitter, of course. And you can only find me online through the rest of the year because I've got no more travel for work for a while. So hooray.
That must be nice. So,
yeah.
So anyway, my name is Lowell Francis. I'm the community manager for the Gauntlet online gaming community. We have a publishing arm. We have a Patreon that supports the Gauntlet, which includes access to our online gaming calendar. Our Patreon also supports several podcasts, including the Gauntlet podcast that I co-host, Fear of a Black Dragon, which is an old school role-playing podcast, +14, which was a PBTA podcast, Farrier's Bellows, which is about the old Forge games. We have a monthly zine called Codex, which comes from our Patreon support, which is quite nice. And you can find out all about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. I have a YouTube channel. I record 3 games a week. So yeah, I do a lot of this, plus my face-to-face games. So you can always check that out. I do a whole bunch of different games. Thank you all so much for doing this. And again, Saad, thank you for doing all the technical stuff, because I watched the video and it's dynamite.
I try my best. Sure, there's always blips, but I mean, like, yeah, production's always like that. I try my best.
It is appreciated.
I hope it's.
Thank you.
I have to thank as well, once again, all the people who did the artwork, which was the people that you had for your Kickstarter and all that, and was it Kilobyte that did the overlay, I believe, and he also did the intro video of, I believe.
It's correct. Nice.
Yeah, thanks for all those people as well. It just adds to the fun of doing production.
That's very cool. And that's it. Thank you all so much. A good clear story arc. Very appreciated.
Oh, incredible!
Thank
for
you,
the
everybody
music.
watching.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're off. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. That was a blast. Just make sure everyone's off the Zoom call.